Hello and welcome to another episode of Top Deck, the series where we take a look at some of the leading TCG deck lists. This time we have Luke Bennett on again, bringing us an Altergeist list this time. He took 4th place at the Bristol Regional from last weekend. There were two last weekend, Cardiff and Bristol. A lot of people went to both of them, and Luke played Altergeist at Bristol, taking 4th as we said. So what we'll do is I will run through the deck itself, and then we'll take a look at some of the comments that Luke made. He's not coming for an interview this time. So, we start off with Triple Marionetta, Triple Meloseek, Triple Morty Faker, and Double Silk, 1 Conquery, Triple Ash, Double Ogre, Triple Duality, 2 Spellbook of Knowledge in here, 2 Manifestation, 2 Protocol, Triple Anti-Spell and Order for those nice floodgates, 1 Infinite Impermanence. I imagine this is to do with the fact that it's difficult to pick up for an event that happens immediately after the release. Triple Spoofing, 1 Judgment, Double Strike, 1 Warning, and a Triple Torrential Tribute. For the extra deck, so Double Hextia, 1 Kidolga, this is an interesting choice, and no Prime Banshee in here either. 1 Clara and Rushka, because UK we don't have Link Repo available. Then we have a bunch of Cherries targets. There's an Electromite. Actually, I suppose he could make the Priestess or the Ningetsu. There's a Unicorn, a Decode, Curious, Helix, Utopia and Lightning, a Beals, and Macabre. So I imagine most of these, are Cherries targets, because this allows you to stop the Zaxel combo as well as the standard Utopia plays. For the side deck, 1 Gameciel, 1 Kumungus, Triple Ghost Reaper, Triple Call by the Grave, 1 Raigeki, Triple Evenly, and Triple Wiretap. So that's it for the deck itself. Let's get the comments from Luke. So we'll start off by taking a look at the rounds that he played. So round 1 was his only loss for the event. He went up against True Draco and lost 0-2. Round 2 against Link Pendulum, he went 2-1. Round 3 against Normal Pendulum, he went 2-1. Round 4 against Field Spell Deck, so this will be like the ABC Invoked Trickstar stuff, he went 2-1. Round 5 against Nightmare Spiral, he went 2-1. Round 6 against Mech Knight Invoked, he went 2-1. Round 7 against 60 card Light Swan. I believe this is Ben's list that we saw last time, and he went 1-1 with that. And round 8 against 60 card Light Swan went 2-1. So really strong record against a variety of almost entirely meta decks here. I guess you could say Field Spell Deck isn't really meta. Everything else is very much the sort of thing that we've been seeing over the last few weeks and you could expect to be at any major event. So let's get his comments on the deck itself. He said, "So I played Altergeist because my friend Owen Hall, huge shout out to him, whose list we're going to be seeing very soon. He'd built the deck and tested it and it seemed really strong. After he topped on Saturday, Luke decided to make the spontaneous decision to buy the deck and play it on Sunday. So he pretty much learned the deck as he was playing. It's really strong because Multi-Faker is out and he generates so much value from it. The combination with Silpitus, which is basically the Kirin of the deck, among with the traps make it a really strong stun deck. Considering that the deck is a trap deck, it's really good at going second, due to cards like Meloseek, which just chip away at your opponent's board, and you can open things like TT with Strike, which just completely wrecks anything that your opponent sees, which is the main reason why he wanted to play TT, along with it being a blowout, of course. Duality was also played because you need to get to Multi-Faker as soon as possible, the same thing for Knowledge. If you open it with Meloseek, if you have knowledge of Meloseek, you get to draw 2 from sending it to the grave and then get the search off the Meloseek, which can search for Faker or something, which is really strong turn 1. Obviously Anti-Spell and Orderer to steal games when your opponent doesn't have the out, because floodgates are fun. He's still playing Ash and Ogre. He only played 2 Ogre though due to having a single impermanence, but he would play triple impermanence if he only had... but he only had 1 at the time. Going second, if you have impermanence with Faker, you can do things like use the impermanence, summon your Faker, and then get Silk, meaning your opponent has to play around a Kirin as well as the effect negate that you just put on board, which can basically end turns for a lot of decks, which is really nice. He also mentioned that this interaction does work with things like Evenly and Typhoon, which is a really nice little addition that it has there. So for the siding, When he's siding, he said it's mostly fairly standard, apart from Wiretap, which was definitely the MVP of the weekend. He sided Wiretap when going first to play around evenly, and of course Red Reboot, which we've just seen come out. It caught people off guard, and it meant that they couldn't get through his board. Evenly and Cherries were for going second against everything apart from Draco, and for going second against Draco, he'd switch Cherries for Kaijus and Raigeki. When going first against Lightsworn, he would side in the Called by the Graves, because you need to set it and then hit whichever monster that they needed for their combo, and you just limit the potential that they have available. And of course, chaining it to Snow is always really nice. When going second, he would always be siding out Anti-Spell and Order, because obviously they don't do anything, and Solemn Warning and 1 Torrential Tribute as well, so this was the same for every single matchup. So I then asked him a few questions about the list itself. So first of all, the point on the triple impermanence, he said that he'd cut the, when he does get his hands on triple impermanence, he would definitely cut the 2 Ghost Ogre, unless the meta changes up significantly and hand traps become a lot more relevant. Then there's some debate in the Altergeist Facebook group, which you may be involved in, Altergeist Duelists, about whether to play Desires in the deck or not, and I asked him if he'd give it a go or if it's too risky. He said that Owen, his friend who'd played the deck beforehand, played Desires on the Saturday, and said that he didn't really like it because in the grind games you need as many guys in the deck to get from spoofing and multi-faker, which is why he decided to play Knowledge, which is why Luke decided to play Knowledge. Then there's no dedicated spell or trap removal within the deck itself. He did mention Typhoon obviously as a potential option for dealing with things like that, but I wanted to know if he felt that spell or trap removal was unnecessary at the moment, or if it might be working its way back in. He said there aren't many other back row decks, so playing like generic spell and trap removal is kind of unnecessary. The deck's recursion just allows you to outgrind a lot of decks like that anyway, and you have the ability to bounce stuff with the Silk and remove problems with Melisseek. He didn't play the Typhoon because the space was really tight. They initially had something like 46 cards that they wanted to play, so Typhoon was amongst the group that got cut from this. The Nightmare cards are a really popular option that just came out, so I wanted to see if he would be playing them in the future, if he could get his hands on them, but he's not sure about the Nightmare cards. He knows that they're really strong, but he doesn't think that they belong in a stun deck in particular. As for other changes that he'd make, he's not really sure, apart from the impermanence, because he hasn't had proper time to reflect on the list, and it'll probably take some more time with different events before he gets a good idea of what changes he'd make. And finally, we've seen a lot of people comment that with True Draco being a deck, it's really difficult for Altergeist to make an impact on the meta, because sometimes you do auto-lose, or you almost auto-lose to a Masterpiece, which is Monster Trap immune. So Luke said that, yeah, Draco is super hard, you just need to make them have Masterpiece Tribute a spell instead, and because it's basically impossible to out the Monster Trap version. But there are ways to do that, you can bounce them, you can get rid of traps, or potential traps with the Silk, or monsters that they intend to tribute with the Masterpiece, also with the Silk, so that's a nice interaction that you have there. As for shoutouts from Luke, a huge one to Owen Hall for showing him the deck and teaching him the small things about the interactions that it has within a single evening. Also shoutouts to James Dakota, Pete and Greg for helping him test, to Jack Borner and Harry Wolford for helping him get the deck and the cards that he was missing, as well as many other people on the day who lent him cards. There are too many to thank in a single go. But he's also going to shout out Luke Delaney and Ben Chalner, who we saw last time, who are actually his round 7 and 8 matches, which makes it particularly hard because they all knew each other, and they also knew each other's list. And finally, shout outs to the clique, if you know, you know. Thanks very much, Luke, for sharing your list. Looks really solid, and congratulations on getting 4th place at the Bristol Regional, and I'm sure that we'll be seeing you on the channel again, so good luck with future events. Thanks for watching this episode of Top Deck. If you have any comments or suggestions that you would like to make, leave them in the comment section down below. Check out the description for details of how you can get involved in this series. You can enter by voice interview, or instead you could just send all of your information over Facebook Messenger. Anything like that will be absolutely fine. If you want to see anything in particular from the upcoming series, then be sure to get in touch, and I'll see you guys in the next video.